Don't do it if it ain't fun. Well, sometimes you got to do some shit you don't want to do. Don't you, Steve? A little on the way to building something that you want.
Sure.
Okay.
Laundry.
I got somebody doing my laundry too, Steve.
And people that haven't watched Bob before, he's real and he's a little bit different. So that's what we're trying to tell everybody about is.
You see the smirk when she says that? He's a little bit different.
I have to be appropriate. I have to be appropriate, you know.
Yeah. We've got Steve Eckelman on here today. We let go of appropriate already.
After I got sober, I realized my heart and my brain and my soul hadn't really talked to each other. For years, the static or the frozenness between them melted. And then that's where the expression speaking from the heart comes from that you hear often in recovery.
Hey there, and welcome to the recovery crew here at Deep Waters. I'm Dr. Bob Beare, the recovery and trauma guy. Today's guest is Steve Eckelman, Emmy Award-winning producer, kind of cool dude. He's one of those guys, when you hang around him, you get more chill just by osmosis. He's got a good recovery story. We're looking forward to our time with him today. Our co-host today is Greg McNelis, another dude with good recovery and a sparkling personality. So we're going to have fun here today. Enjoy the show. Please like, share, subscribe. Glad to have you here. You're in the deep waters now. Well, here we are. Look at this. We got Greg McNelis up in the corner. He's got the background of New York City. What is that? What's that background?
I'm in the home office, Dr. Bob, and that would be my TV, YouTube background.
Okay. But there's like moving.
It looks pretty real, though, huh?
It looks very real. You're
how about that?
Doing that weird stuff that sometimes happens on Zoom. So
Cars going by.
We could pretend we're doing this straight from Broadway or wherever that is.
There you go.
And there's Steve Eckelman. There he is. He's Mr. Relaxed, Mr. Laid Back. There's been different times in his life when he wasn't quite so much, but now we've got the calm Steve Eckelman on our podcast today. Welcome, Steve.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so we'll do Greg is one of my staff guys for the Braveheart experience, and he's got a extensive production background, Hollywood background, all that kind of stuff. And so actually, I'm so glad you're here because it just happens that Steve is also a guy that has a lot of experience in film and that. So there'll probably be some overlap of conversation, overlap of crazy acting out that only happens in the film business. I'm told. I'm a theater guy. I don't know what you guys are doing. But before I give the bigger intro for Steve, I'd like to invite Brooke Martin, who is the business development person at Deep Waters Recovery, which is our baby, right? And it's and that this podcast is deeply connected to the Deep Waters Network, the Deep Waters program. Brooke is one of the recovery crew. So, welcome, Brooke. Why don't you say a little bit about what we're up to here?
Yeah, so sounds so formal when you say business development. I just tell everybody about Bob and what he's doing, which is a lot. So as a part of Deep Waters Recovery, it's kind of been a movement that Bob has started. His passion for people to recover, heal, and launch into a life of authenticity. And he's a little bit different.
See the smirk when she says that? He's a little bit different.
I have to be appropriate. I have to be appropriate, you know.
Yeah. Appropriate. We've got Steve Eckelman on here today. We let go of appropriate already.
Yeah. Well, people that watch you will find that out. So the big things that we're doing at Deep Waters is the 3-day intensive for the Deep Waters Intensive in April. Trauma resolution and addiction, that's what that 3-day intensive is about. We're also going to be training or certifying experiential facilitators. And Bob also sees individual patients and individual clients and groups. So if you have someone that is in need of something beyond the mainstream, something a lot deeper, love to hear from you. And he can tell you all about that. Contact information is 512-677-7847. That's the phone number. The email is admin@deepwatersrecovery.com. And that is also the website address is deepwatersrecovery.com. If you really like what you're hearing here, which I know you will, take a few extra seconds to share it. Whatever platform you're watching on, whether it's a podcast or the video, please like it and share it, and please subscribe, because that gets the word out. It allows us to reach more people. We're also on all social media platforms. We're very active: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and now TikTok, because we decided that was something interesting. So Bob's been working on that. Well, kids have families, right? So find us in all those things. Like, share, invite people, and I think you're really going to enjoy what you're about to hear.
Thanks, Brooke.
Thanks,
See you later.
All right. So here we are. We're going to get the Steve Eckelman story today. And I was just thinking about, I'm going to tell you a bunch of stuff about Steve, but for me, the main thing is he's an interesting dude. Every time what I know about you is when I hear you in a circle say something, it's got a combination of grounded, healthy wisdom and also something bizarre. There's something usually just a little bit bizarre enough to keep my attention. So I think this probably be a good, this is going to be a fun time together. Steve is an Emmy Award-winning producer, writer, and actor. His latest project is the book Sleeping Bees, Why Doing Nothing Matters. Now that's a little bizarre in itself, but it's actually, I've stuck my nose in it enough to know what it's about. It's about getting still inside. And it's really hard for a lot of people in recovery to do that. And he does it in a fun way in this book. You can go find it on Amazon or sleepingbees.com. The documentary that he won the Emmy for is Tower, TOWER. It's about the shooting at the University of Texas at Austin Tower back in the 60s, done in a very unique way. I won't even say anything about it to spoil it for anybody, but I wasn't like that interested, honestly. And then I started watching it, and I was locked in. It's done in a way that will keep you locked in till the end. Actually, I'd like to hear more about that. What is that? What is that thing? Yeah. And he's been on a bunch of movies you've heard of: Rushmore, Wedding Crashers, Cars, Marley and Me. I'm not going to do the whole list, but they're all in Office Space, one of my favorite movies of all time. All right. So he's got a degree. He's smart too. He's got a degree. He could sit up straight. He might look like a slacker, but actually he's got degrees in art history and history from SMU and an MBA from Pepperdine. How did they let him in and out of there, Greg? I have no idea.
I know that's up the hill there.
But it seems
beautiful view. I don't know how you leave there. That's the big question.
This is not
stay in Pepperdine.
Exactly, and this is not on his bio. He's a scratch golfer too. I don't know how you fit that in there, but man, he wallops that ball. But the coolest thing is his shadow dog. He calls him a blue heeler named River, who is the best golf dog I have ever seen. This dog, it's impossible for a dog to stay out of the way and still be there. I don't know. Amazing stuff around Steve Eckelman. That's very mysterious. So welcome here, brother. I'm so glad you're here. Why don't you just share with us what happened, what it's like, and what it was like way back then too.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for the introduction and your time and being on this. It's great to be here. Thanks for being here, Brooke, and to Greg also. It's nice to see everybody. I guess I kind of write stuff down and keep notes and jot stuff down all the time about what I'm thinking when I get asked to speak or something. So I might look down at some notes. But I did, when you were talking about the book, I started to remember my first few days of stopping drinking. I was in a rehab, La Hacienda, in the hill country. And I had realized I hadn't done something that I wanted to do for years, which was read a book. Spent plenty of time and money in bookstores, kind of hung over buying books and planning on reading books, taking them home and never reading them. My bookshelf was full of unread books as an active alcoholic. and I like looking at them, and they're kind of comforting, but I hadn't read a book for maybe 2 decades. And so after I had gotten a few nights of decent sleep, I went and got the Steve Jobs biography. And one of the best feelings I'd had for years was the first week or two in rehab where I read that book. You know, I would go to the usual stuff you do in a rehab or something throughout the day. And I looked forward every night to getting back into that book, and then finishing the book felt great. And it gave me kind of a thought of what sobriety could be like. I could get back to the simple pleasures of life. And that's been wonderful. And magically, I don't know how it happened, but I ended up writing a book, which is bizarre to me. It was always a dream that I thought other people did. And all of a sudden I had the courage to put my name on something and to start writing in a blank piece of paper, exposing my thoughts to the world. And I first started doing that in recovery, where I gained courage every day, and my mind started becoming a little bit more organized, and I could actually put thoughts together, put sentences together, paragraphs together, and then maybe a story together. So this is my story, or part of it. I never have told my story until this past March, because I never felt whole as a person yet. But I've been under the care of AA for 8 years. I was listening to a book on tape recently called Lab Girl by Hope Yaren, and she has a beautiful voice. And I've listened to the book probably 3 or 4 times now, just driving around. I just like the sound of her voice almost. But she has a nice quote, and it reminds me of recovery and kind of my new stance in life. And she says, ultimately, we are endowed with only 4 resources: the earth, the ocean, the sky, and each other. So for me, I kind of like talking backwards half the time. So what it's like now is my life is about service, probably as much as anything. And I have a better understanding of service now than I did early on in AA. I feel more whole as a person, and so I'm probably better at it. And I have a more complete feeling and perspective of it. Before, it felt like a kind of an obligation. And now I can really understand it and feel it kind of organically. What it was like is as I was dying. I was broke. I definitely lost my mind. So I was going insane. I spent all my money on alcohol. And so today, at the base level, I'm happy to be alive. And so it's hard even when something goes wrong or something, it's hard for me to get completely upset, because I feel like I really have been born again as a person. It felt like back then is that I would die 1,000 times a day. I'd die 1,000 times during a conversation, and I'd die 1,000 times when I was asleep. And now it's the opposite. And now it feels like the opposite, really. I feel like I'm very much alive, very happy. And for me right now, today, I never want to drink again. And I never want to leave AA or recovery. So one thing that's been nice is that I'm in the presence of my brain now.
It's funny, but it's not real. I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about. When we're using and drinking and acting out, our ability to think straight or feel the actual feelings that we're having is completely co-opted. And actually, that's why it takes a guy a year of really intense work to even start coming back to the room. We talk about the detox period. for go to a detox for a week. Are you kidding me? I'm almost 30 years in, and I'm still detoxed.
I used to be alone with my thoughts when I was drinking. Now I'm alone with my feelings. That's the big difference I've got now. How to deal with the feelings part. That's the new life. How that's done.
I always equated it, felt like, petrified wood, which is kind of beautiful and wonderful. It's just so old and hard. I appreciate that, but that's the way I felt inside, like I'd just been frozen. And it was actually after I got sober, I realized my heart and my brain and my soul hadn't really talked to each other for years. And so eventually they did, kind of like the static or the frozenness between them melted. And then that's where the expression speaking from the heart comes from, that you hear often in recovery, or you can hear it from people when they're sharing, is that they're not like analyzing and thinking so much before they speak. It just starts coming out, and it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Man, I'm already writing down Steve Eckelman quotes.
Yeah.
How about this? My heart, brain, and soul hadn't talked to each other for years.
Yeah, frozen like petrified wood.
Yeah. I love petrified wood. That's like something you see at when you're a kid or something. But I was remembering, I remember what I think probably was my first prayer. They encouraged me to pray in rehab, and it was, God help me, but not yet. I wanted to get the hell out of there. And I wanted to drink all I could and live a horrible life and die a horrible death. That was my goal. And I didn't know I could have a different goal.
Yeah. It's a little bit like, that reminds me of you don't hear what you just said. You don't hear that much in the rooms or around but that is exactly what we were up to. Maybe you're just a little bit more conscious of it, but I hear, I've heard it a lot more in the gambling world, the compulsive gambling world. They are very conscious that they're trying to lose. After a while, that's the goal. Eventually, we're trying to win, of course, but behind it is this knowing that I've got to do this until I lose.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. And then I heard in a meeting that somebody said it's not that they drank too much, it's that they could never drink enough.
Yeah. And
it's kind of in the same vein. I could really relate to that. And then somebody also said they'd go to a bar at 5 p.m. and start worrying about last call. And I did that all the time. I was a bar fly.
Yeah.
And
what do I have at home? Do I have any backup? I had to have some backup.
And there's for our listeners, they may be hearing this as, well, those three bad alcoholics, Bob and Greg and Steve, that's not like me. But I hope everybody can just listen to the philosophy under this, because when you just said that, I've thought around food stuff. I've thought about that while I'm eating this meal. I'm wondering about how am I going to make sure that I get it's because I'm a food addict too. I'm a 12-step recovery for food addiction. But I think we all have that somewhere in our lives. We're not okay with this moment, so I'm worried about making sure I can medicate myself in the future. My whole life becomes consumed with making sure that I don't have to feel any emotions.
Right.
It's just that it happens that
Gotta
the
keep
three of us.
packing it in.
It just happens that the three of us found the perfect drug that would knock it back for a while. For me, it knocked it back for 25 years, and then it wasn't working anymore.
My last drink I had was at Dirty Bill's in Austin, and then I went to a rehab. I was in a rehab for a while and had night sweats for 6 months. Nightmares for 2 years, and the night sweats, I would wake up and I thought that was kind of like detoxing. So I didn't feel too bad about it. Maybe it felt like a good steam bath is the way I would look at it. The nightmares felt like penance, like my brain hadn't probably gotten any rest for years. And so even that kind of stuff, by the time I started to be cognizant of sleep and stuff like that, that stuff wasn't going to stop me. I wanted to stay sober. I did a step a month. My sponsor was pretty gentle with me. He gave me speaker tapes to listen to, which were really helpful. And he told me only one thing. He said, I'll never tell you what to do, but you can ask me any questions. And I did the steps by the 12 and 12. I did about a step a month. The most important part of my early recovery was I went to Las Vegas for a friend's birthday party. And it was 6 a.m. I went to the concierge and I asked if he knew of any AA meetings. I thought it was kind of like a big deal. I was going to be kind of happy to be sober. And he immediately whipped out a giant list of AA meetings in Vegas. And then he actually was nice enough I go, well, I'll get a cab. He goes, no, our drivers aren't busy right now. It's 6 a.m. And I was like, all right, I'll take a ride. And they dropped me off at a meeting. And I went and sat down at this 7 a.m. meeting. And I was the last one there. And I got the worst seat in the house, which is right behind a post. So I was literally 2 inches from a post, packed into a meeting. And a man started his share, which was about war fever ran high, which are the first 4 words of the big book. And he talked about how he lived a life of war fever. And then I kind of got the point and didn't exactly relate to it because he talked about being argumentative and getting in fights. And I thought to myself, well, how can I apply that to myself? Because I'm feeling something. And to me, it felt like I suddenly knew that I'd had like Cold War fever. I would have fights with people in my head, but never confront them. I would fight a lot of things in life quietly. I would triangulate with people. If I didn't like something somebody was doing, I would tell a mutual friend and hopefully it would get to them. And it took a lot of energy to have that kind of war fever. So that meeting, after that meeting, which I was 3 months sober at that meeting, I thought, wow, this AA stuff can help me in other ways. And that's another turning point for me.
Yeah, it takes a lot of creativity to not say the truth to people, doesn't it? It takes a lot of skill.
Deception.
Oh yeah. It's the wheel spinning up there.
That's why, when guys come into treatment or we start talking to newcomers and I find out that they're smart and creative, I go, oh.
Oh, you got to be creative with that job, right?
It's not a compliment.
One of the great things is that AA told me not drinking could be my primary purpose, but it never told me what my secondary purpose had to be. And so I've spent a lot of time exploring secondary purposes. It's easy to explore them sober. And actually I found being sober allows me to take more risks now than I did when I was drinking. When I was drinking, if I made any kind of mistakes, then everything could kind of fall apart. But I enjoy trying to put myself out there and trying new things in sobriety.
Yeah, there's a powerful minute of fear around things when you're involved in your addiction. That's for sure. Yeah, a lot of fear going on.
A lot of arranging.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to reschedule that.
And lying, and then lying to cover up the lies, and then having to. I mean, it's just it takes a lot. It's a lot of work. It's not for sissies.
It's not for sissies. I also had a sense of inevitability when I was drinking. I think everybody can relate to that. And now I feel like I can change my fate at any moment, and nothing's inevitable. There are no corners anymore that I get backed into or walk into. I can get stuck on ideas. For example, relapsing. I used to think I was not a relapser, and I haven't been since I've been in AA. But I've friggin' relapsed every day when I was drinking. How do I want to box myself in? I don't want to be boxed in anymore. And, going to meetings for me has always been the answer. And I love that there's no dead ends, at least for me these days in AA. I just keep learning.
You're an actor, and I don't know if you have acting training or you just happen to be good at it and stumble into it. But I had an improv company for 10 years in Houston, and I was a pretty good student of that technology. And it just occurred to me that what gets in the way of spontaneity, and what you're talking about is living life spontaneously rather than in a box, right? What gets in the way, it's several things, but it really amounts to shame, right? We carry shame in our bodies, and when we're drinking, we're just drinking and using and doing all that acting out. We're just piling more shame on top of the shame that was originally created by trauma, but that's for another podcast probably. But what I'm hearing you say is that you're no longer piling the shame on top of the shame, and you have, and it takes a while. It takes a while to get it off of us.
Get that load off me. Taking it out.
Yeah, so we have the freedom to be who we are. And I see you as kind of a leader around that.
It's been wonderful. I think I got a glimpse of it with things like taking a walk, getting better sleep, enjoying food, pizza, anything early on in sobriety. These are things that I enjoyed when I was 10 years old. And what I did was about 4 years ago, I was recommended to maybe look at that and what I enjoyed as a kid. So I drove up to Dallas, where I grew up, and I went to my 4th grade school, St. Michael's there. And it was about 4 p.m. And so all the school was out. I walked up to the door and walked into my lower school and went through the first floor hallway. And there are all those wonderful notes we had as kids, like from our teachers that said, like, do your best, you're great, that kind of feeling. And I really missed that feeling. And then I walked upstairs to my 4th grade classroom, and it just came to me like, this is who I want to be again. And I sat down, and I remembered myself. And so the gift of recovery for me is giving myself back to me. And it's the self of innocence and courage that I had as a kid, that same energy, that kind of curiosity and fun that had been kind of destroyed throughout most of my life. And now I went back and grabbed it.
Find that inner child, right?
Yeah, yes.
It's a little cliche because, in the 90s, it was all about the inner child stuff. I think Saturday Night Live made a lot of fun of it, all that kind of stuff. But, it's a part of us that got buried a long time ago. And then we found ways to keep it buried, right? Because it's truly who we are. Think about that. And all of the religious traditions have a small golden child somewhere. Muhammad, Christ, the Buddha, every one of them has a story about this golden child, right? Or not Muhammad, but I don't know. Maybe you guys are more scholars than I am, but we have that inside of us, right? And we got to get back to it some way. So fooling around and playing, and the way Greg does it, he's got this army of kids. He's got his own kids and the neighborhood kids, and he takes them skiing and does all. He's like, he is a kid. He doesn't have to be doing any inner child work. He's a kid.
Yeah. I get in touch with that, and I'll tell you, it's so easy now for me. Whereas before, I pushed that away. I don't want to be involved in that. I got too much to do. But now I embrace it and just fell in love with it again.
I could never understand when people told me to grow up or take things seriously. I did not compute to me. So for me, it's helped me more to grow backwards to that younger self when things were easier and things made more sense. And it doesn't mean I'm less responsible. It actually helps me to be more responsible.
Yeah. I'm going to read, not right now, but before we're done, I'm going to read one of the things from your book that just really points to to learning how to just be here right now and enjoy the things that you enjoy. What more is there to do than that? Are we supposed to be working hard and be responsible and like, who the hell am I trying to show with some shit with all that? I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to start wearing a Zuma hat.
There you go.
Which apparently means peace. Isn't that what you told me?
Yes, it does in some language that I'm not quite sure which one. But overall, that trip to my elementary school, and it could have been maybe it's anything somebody could pick up to take them back, whether it's like a old sweater or something. I don't know, but my theory now is that to live in heaven now and to not wait. And how do I know that? Why not? Why not be happy now?
I think that's a great question for anybody who's listening to this. I'm saying this to you, Greg, right now. What is that thing? What is that thing? And for me, it's singing. And I could cry about that. I can't remember. Like this piano here, it's kind of like a prop. It's a good prop. And actually, the COVID thing has kind of taken me away from it. But the little kid in me used to just love singing with other people. And thank you for that reminder. What's yours, Greg?
Well, I was just thinking my joy that I'm re-embracing nowadays is actually just doing things with kids and enjoying sports with children and then I love my passion has always been skiing, and I'm back in skiing these last 2 years more than I've ever been in my life. And the great thing is it's like
that's
riding a bike.
irresponsible.
Right back into it.
But Greg, that's irresponsible. And you with all that.
Oh, believe me, that's my thought pattern. I know that feeling. Wait, I can't go skiing. I got too much shit to. I got to do that. I can do that. You know what? I'm doing things I want to do now. That's it. That's the key, right? Don't do this crap you don't need to do.
Yeah.
Do the stuff that's important. Just get to heaven on earth, right?
Heaven on earth. That's it. A sense of wonder.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay to want things as a sober person, to want to be maybe good at things and to be okay with that. I had a hard time coming to peace with that. I can do two things at once. I can be grateful to being alive, but also kind of want to do some stuff now that I'm actually present and I've dominion over myself now, instead of being dragged around by a can of beer.
Yeah. Well, it looks good on you, Steve.
Okay. I try not to mess up my own vibe is one thing I wrote. I don't want to mess myself up.
Well, you seem unshakable to me. I remember playing golf with you, and I actually said some things to you. Just, I think unconsciously I was trying to poke around it. Can this guy fool around with some really kind of edgy stuff? And it's just like real. Is there anything that upsets you? Do you ever get upset?
Oh, yeah, I do. I think maybe some of that's a facade or something that I grew up with, so to keep myself safe. I kind of talk slowly and don't emote a ton, and that's just old patterns. But certainly do. I'm certainly aware, but I'm not in a destructive way anymore. I think I do remember specifically wanting to turn my brain off when I was 18, and that's really when I started drinking a lot, because I was so aware of everything going on around me and bothered by things. So,
but you pull. I don't want to like guide your story here. I think you have some, but you know, you did some pretty amazing things, and you were hanging out with some pretty high profile folks, and you had some, I mean, how did you pull all that shit off?
You know, it helps.
Yeah, I was wondering that too. How were you a functioning alcoholic at that high a level? Yeah, that's rough stuff.
I don't know. You know, it helps to hear that, so I don't paint myself into a picture that's dark, too dark, because I always did keep want to do things well, and I always have had a degree of innocence and kindness that it's always probably served me well. I do know that about me. And I do remember, though, I was always careful to never be late. So that helped. For years, I was just that way anyway. But then when I started drinking too much, I always still made it everywhere I needed to go on time so that I wouldn't get busted.
Yeah, we have
that in common, for sure. That's exactly how I survived.
Did you show up
I
on
was
time?
the first one there, the last one to leave.
But showing up is a lot of the deal.
Yeah. But I'm happy looking back, and I like to look, you know, at what I've done, I suppose. And I suppose because I've been active since I've been sober with like the movies and writing, that it's taken away some of the pain of things I could have left a bit at half undone, I suppose. But I do have a pretty good track record, like good movies, and golf is one thing I wanted to revisit probably more than anything, not really work, but I was a good golfer as a kid. I went to Georgia Tech on a golf scholarship and kind of left there not happy and wanted to go to a school that was fun instead of a MIT type school. So as I've gotten sober, I started playing golf again every morning at dawn is what I started doing. I did it with my dog, and it became a sober hobby, really, and a sober habit, and a good exploration of where sobriety could take me.
Well, this is how I have it justified. It's a little bit meditative. It's out in nature, and it's almost exercise.
Yes.
And all the metaphors for life apply to that game. That's it. On the next, maybe I'll get you on the next time I get you on here. We'll talk about that, because I mean, there's so much that translates to life with that meditation.
Yes.
Meditation
of 18 holes. There you go.
The only other thing I was going to say is that this is my second stint in sobriety. I was sober from 0 to 14, drunk from 14 to 47 to some degree or another, and I've been sober from 47 to 55, which is my age now, for another month.
And doing a lot of service. And I know you do things that we all don't know about, but one piece of service is talking in every meeting. And doing it kind of short and saying something that's very, I've received your service. Let me just say that just by you making a choice to speak up and talk about your experience, strength, and hope, it's been service to listen to you today. But I've gotten it from you many times in other circles, and so I'm
as you're laying there in your pillow situation, you're all relaxed, just
and it's
giving out that peace and love that we need to hear. Yeah.
I had started to get words past my teeth in AA. Certainly was very shy, afraid. I didn't speak for 7 months. And I remember I agreed to do the promises one day, and my heart was racing. And so I'm amazed when people come in earlier than that and are even coherent. AA was patient with me, and I kind of learned how to speak again.
Yeah. Those first few months, you're sitting there, you're thinking you're making lots of sense and passing on the information that everyone needs to hear, but at the same, and everybody's just sitting there going, "Okay, buddy, keep coming back."
Are you speaking? Is that personal experience, Greg?
I know that experience well. Yeah. I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, God, I can't believe how I was when I came in. Some of the things I was spouting out.
Yeah.
It was all about me, by the way.
I may be, how does that go? I'm always on my mind.
Always on my
I'm
mind.
always on my
mind.
Hey, I got to sing. See, Steve? See what you're doing?
Yeah.
You're empowering me to sing.
That's a great one. I have a good Willie story about sobriety, and
All right.
There you go.
Go for it.
it was on 4/20/2012 when they unveiled his statue downtown in Austin. It was 4/20 because of the marijuana reference, but and then he played afterwards at the hall, Austin City Limits there, and that was the night of my last drink. And I went to the concert. I was already kind of smashed and felt like I was getting too drunk, so I left and walked down the stairs there and got helped home by a concierge. And that was the last drink I ever had because I felt embarrassed. And but a long story short, 2 years later, I got invited to play golf with him on his birthday, and he had turned 80, and I was sitting there playing golf with Willie Nelson and his son, and I couldn't believe I was alive. I was playing golf. I was sober 2 years, and I'd been in the presence relatively of Willie for one of the worst moments of my life and the bottom of my life. And then I'd suddenly then become sober, and he invited me to his concert that night. I went backstage, wasn't drinking. I was happy to be sober. I listened to every song he sang.
Full circle.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So look at this guy, Greg. Here's Greg. He got sober behind some like really wacko stuff that we'll talk about some other time. Bob was suicidal. Our last guest had some kind of federal conspiracy charge.
U.S. Marshals pounded on the door.
And the sweet Steve Eckelman felt some shame with Willie.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
Takes what it
I
takes.
made an ass out of myself with Willie. You gotta get me to rehab.
It takes what it takes, brother.
Very
Hey, everybody's got what they can handle. Yeah.
Yeah.
When it's your time, it's your time.
I just think it speaks to
Not about
the
it.
sweet. I think it speaks to the sweetness of your soul, Steve. And I'm just grateful to have you in my life, and so grateful you came here. We're not done with you yet. I want to read this thing from your book, The Sleeping Bees, and maybe you can tell us. Is it okay if I read it?
Yes.
Yeah. It's an excerpt, and this thing is about getting back to just enjoying stuff, right? I mean, it doesn't sound profound enough, does it, Greg? We got to be like win shit, and we've got to get successful.
Standing on top of the hill, saving everyone with my sword.
What if we just learned how to enjoy? Could you even? All right, so listen to this. This
Right.
I don't know what it's called, but it's from Sleeping Bees. It says, "I've been thinking about enjoying what I enjoy, enjoying what I like, being happy for no good reason. I recently rediscovered my love of cinnamon. I initially loved it as a child, then I forgot about it until recently. And I've been enjoying it with many things I eat and drink. Why do I note this? Because I don't need to. I don't feel this need to tell anyone, a need to join or start a club of cinnamon lovers. I don't need to subscribe to Cinnamon Aficionado magazine, not only because it doesn't exist, but more because I have found a way to enjoy the taste of cinnamon and ask nothing more of it. I almost Googled cinnamon so I could learn more about my new old love crush, but I did not. I don't need more cinnamon information. I don't need cinnamon backup. I don't need cinnamon knowledge. I don't need cinnamon facts. I don't need cinnamon varieties. I only need cinnamon and its taste, which is mine each time I taste it."
There you go.
I can almost taste
Simple
it.
things.
but mostly I can taste something simpler, that song that I sent you earlier today, Steve, that song itself has that for me. When I play that, I just, it's a moment for me. And I think, wow, if nobody gets anything out of any of our podcasts, some permission to make contact with that little child in us and to remember what that little child loved, it might have more curative properties than anything I can think of.
So sweet. I love that word, sweetness. And I look for it in everything I do and in everybody I meet. And certainly in sobriety I've found sweetness completely.
So I hope, is there anything else you want to say about that book? And what I know what's going on with that book. Spike, I think pretty much, which is Spike Gillespie is your co-author, knows you, has been watching you, and probably like me saying, how the fuck is he doing what? And I think she writes about it, and then you write your beautiful pieces of poetry in response, or she did it in response to you. But say what you need. Say a little bit more about that book.
Well, I think what was wonderful about that book was our writing it together. We kind of had a good system and a good rhythm, and then I found my own style of writing. She encouraged me to experiment in my style. It turned out to be kind of more lyrical or poetic. And I kind of had to go through using AA type stuff to go through like layers of, should this not be a normal paragraph? Does every word have to make sense? And break through all those conventions that I would normally be blocked by. And so I found my voice in that book.
When we get sober, what we're stuck with is our emotions that are still unresolved, right? And we've got to get it up and out of our body, and then we have more and more freedom to follow the Steve Eckelman path of being in this moment and enjoying what we enjoy, right? Enjoy what you enjoy. How about that? That is
what an interesting idea, huh?
It's too simple. It's too
shocking.
God damn, that eluded me for years.
It's like the moonshot.
Yeah. So Steve, have we put what other? How do people get a hold of you if they want support around recovery, or they want to find out more about the book, or anything out there? Go ahead and say now.
Yeah, you can. I have an Instagram at River Steve Eckelman, RiverSteveCkelman. You're welcome to message me about anything you need, or have a question, or say hi, or whatever you want. The other thing you had mentioned was Tower, the movie. That is available on Amazon Prime now. And it is a wonderful movie. That was a great experience, and something winning an Emmy was a crazy experience. And I'm still really happy about that. I drive around with it in my back seat sometimes to help my self-esteem.
Yeah, man. I wish you brought it for the next time we interview. Bring it so you can.
It's on my shelf. I'll show it to you next time.
Okay. There you go. Congratulations on that. It's a big deal, man. And that movie, I see. It's very.
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, somebody recommended it to me. I didn't know, Steve. I had no idea you were attached to it at the time. I saw that, way prior to this, and I was really impressed. Unbelievable how riveting that was.
Yeah, it's an amazing story.
Sucked me right in, man.
Texas Monthly story originally that we got the rights to, and so the credit really begins with Pam Koloff, and then it had a great director too and producer.
Well, we've got to let you go, Steve, and we will have you back though. Too much stuff there.
Thanks.
So
tomorrow, let's do it.
Yeah, Brooke, are you still with us? Give us the kind of little. There she is.
I'm here. I'm here.
Would you give the little outro about Deep Waters and how to reach us?
Absolutely. So Deep Waters Recovery, the Deep Waters Intensive in April, Find us on Facebook, Instagram, all the social media channels, and our phone number if you want to reach Bob to schedule individual group or learn more about Deep Waters. It's 512-677-7847, and admin@deepwatersrecovery.com is the email address, and the website is deepwatersrecovery.com. So find us, and please share this with everybody, all your friends. Go to the Facebook page, like it there, like it on YouTube, your podcast, everywhere, so we can spread the news.
Thanks, Brooke.
See y'all later.
Yes, thanks. We really am inviting everyone to subscribe and do all of the things that keep this alive. I'm told that I need to sort of make an appeal to our listeners around that. It'd be great if you just kind of, because we're trying to bring this movement of healing more into the mainstream. That's what we're up to. This kind of oddballs otherwise, you know. Let's stop having enjoy what you enjoy, be oddball. Let's have that be mainstream. How about that shit? But anyway, thanks for joining us today. Greg, thanks for making this a lot more fun than me just sitting here by myself. And Steve, wow, how cool to have you here. Thanks, man.
Thank you. That was a blast. Thanks, Greg and Brooke, also.
And thanks for everybody that's listening. Reach out to us in any way that you'd like. You're in the deep waters now.
That's cool.